Gaurav Sawant, who is right there, our only reporter joining us from the Tawang region, the area where clashes took place between China and Indian troops. Gaurav, as we see, India now has already been upping infrastructure, military infrastructure. We see huge drills by the IAF, and this is predated even before the clashes took place. But right now assumes huge significance to show India's might to China. China's intentions unclear. They promise to maintain status quo, but we hear they too are building up their infrastructure along their regions, the dual airports along the Tibet region. We hear China is already preparing to up their ammunition. How far should we be concerned, and how far is India prepared to counter?
We are currently at the Sela tunnel at an altitude of 13,100 feet in Arunachal Pradesh, and this is the gateway to Tawang. This actually promises to be an absolute game changer here in Tawang. And why? At an altitude of 13,000 feet, in December it starts snowing. Now a little higher where the Sela Pass is, and that's more than 14,000 feet. You have several feet of snow, and that actually blocks the movement both of men and material as far as the army is concerned, and also civilians in Tawang, who then get cut off for some time when the passes are snowed in. This tunnel right behind me is an absolute game changer. And why? This tunnel is a game changer for the simple reason this will provide all-weather connectivity to our soldiers and to the civilians in Tawang. Now this tunnel is also extremely significant. Now take a look. One, the main tunnel, and then there is a secondary tunnel. The two tunnels will ensure, in this the entire tunnel complex, there are 3 tunnels in all. They are about 4.1 kilometers long. These tunnels will ensure all-weather connectivity. And if I, also joining us on the broadcast is Colonel Parikshit Mehra. Colonel Parikshit Mehra is the commander of the task force that's been engaged in the task of making this tunnel. Colonel Mehra, what can you tell us in terms of how this tunnel promises to be a game changer?
First of all, Sela Pass is the most formidable obstacle that we have towards connectivity to Tawang. Today, Tawang is connected throughout the year, but for these 3 months, where we have to carry out extensive snow clearance on the Sela Pass. And once this tunnel is through, we will not require to carry out that Sela Pass, and we will offer the people of Tawang and also our forces ahead true all-weather connectivity. We will reduce the expenditure on the maintenance of the pass, on the snow clearance efforts, and ensure that convoy is up and down, and the people coming down from Tawang and going up from the Tenga side right up to Tawang will be able to travel through the year. And this tunnel at this site at 13,000 feet is going to be the longest by-lane tunnel in the world. So it is that kind of a feat that we are getting to the people here, And
the longest by-lane tunnel in the world. Is it also, as I was reading, the fastest construction at such an altitude, given the circumstances?
Yes, longest by-lane tunnel at an altitude of above 13,000 feet, and one of the fastest excavations that we've carried out in the last 2 years. We've carried out 4 kilometers of excavation, which is a feat in itself. We've had fantastic contractors. Our consultants have done a fantabulous job here. Thankfully, the officers that we've had from the border road side have been good. Our DG has been himself following this project from day one, where in fact he took one of the first blasts of the other tunnel, which is 1 kilometer long, and that tunnel was finished within 1 calendar year. So that is the kind of pace that we've been able to gain over the past 2 years.
Also the use of latest technology, I believe, and this is a strategic road. This is strategically very important as far as the defense of Tawang is concerned. Also very important as far as the people of Tawang are concerned.
Surely, wherever you see border roads working, you can always assume that we are doing something which is of strategic importance, and which also gets the people of this country towards the mainstream and gets them together. That's our motto, connecting people, connecting hearts, and getting them close to the mainstream. And I'm sure that Sela Tunnel will also do so for the people of Tawang.
I wish you all the best. So 80% work completed, another 20% to go.
Sure.
When do you complete it?
We are now doing the finishing works. We're doing the concreting and the bituminous topping. We're going deliberately. We expect by the middle of next year we should be able to dedicate it to the nation.
Thank you very much, sir, for joining us here on India Today. So live and exclusive, the task force commander of the border roads, and the entire team is engaged here. So it's -8 degrees right now. If you look around, it's completely fogged in. It's fogged in. It was snowing a little while earlier, of course, very gentle snow just as yet. It was raining before that. So imagine in -8 degrees Celsius, you have about 1,200 people working round the clock in 4 shifts to ensure that this infrastructure push is taken forward. And that is why movement of men and material from one area to the other becomes extremely easy as far as the armed forces are concerned. They do not now have to, think of deploying additional forces at all times, given the condition that the country has been facing. So that is why this tunnel promises to be an absolute game changer here in Arunachal Pradesh.
Right. Gaurav, give us an understanding on the kind of build-up that China has been carrying out along the borders. We hear that the dual airport along the Tibet region, where there's a lot of activity happening with a lot of equipment being tested at this point. China claims that the situation is under control, is all stable with India, but they're clearly gearing up, God knows for what, but can't be trusted.
So in the armed forces, and especially the Air Force, it says the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. And sweating in peace is not just military exercises, which incidentally the Air Force is carrying out over the next 2 days in the Eastern Theatre. So you have the Eastern Air Command, which will carry out a very major annual military exercise where certain doctrines, certain principles are tried out. So you have your Su-30 MKIs, and they are, they carry up to 8 tons of load of weapons and systems, plus you have your unmanned aerial vehicles, plus you have your, apart from your drones, you have your AVAC system, you have your transport fleet, you have your helicopter fleet, you have men and material who are checking out interoperability, you have your missile testing, exercises that are going on. All of this aimed at a deterrence. When you talk about infrastructure build up in this area, it's not just roads. Incidentally, roads have been an absolute game changer as far as Tawang is concerned. Military deployment, movement of men and material, given what the adversary has been doing. So India is taking a lot of steps. And this is just step 1. What has also been sanctioned and is part of step 2 is inter-valley connectivity. And that would mean you have your soldiers deployed in one area. They can move from one valley to the other valley, from one area to another area, wherever they may be required. Quick deployment, as we have seen in the recent incident in Yangtse. Quick deployment of men and material, quick movement of men and material. That is the difference between victory and the adversary of otherwise getting an upper hand. In this case, India had an upper hand because of the infrastructure advantage, even in terms of surveillance equipment, keeping an eye on what's happening on the other side of the hill. Extremely, extremely critical in war. In fact, knowing what's happening on the other side of the hill is a battle-winning factor.